All right, so today what I'm going to show you is how exactly you're going to complete one of this week's assignments, which is to complete an activity called the Building Big Laboratory. It is an online lab through PBS, and it's going to explore forces, loads, materials, and shapes as we discuss and study structures and bridges this week as part of our Tech Ed curriculum. So what you'll need to do is from your Schoology home screen, you can enter the class. For this example, I'll use this class, which is Rotation 6, Period 2, which none of you are in. When I click on that, it's going to open up and it's going to show me this week's resources. Week 1 was last week. We are going to go into structure and bridge building resources. And what we have inside of this is, in order, the assignments that you are to complete. So the first thing you completed was the Chapter 1 reading about bridges, and you answered the 20 questions about the history through that document. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to focus on the next 3 items. The link to the Building Big Laboratory itself. That's going to take us to the page that's going to allow us to actually explore the lab and learn the information that we need. The glossary, this is what we're going to use. If we cannot find any of the answers throughout the lab, we're going to be able to use that as kind of our fail-safe to be able to go back and find any terms or understand any terms that we have not been able to get. And the Building Big Laboratory that is right here is an assignment that you will fill out. And when you click on that, you're going to answer all of those questions through what is called Cami. Cami is a software that some of you might have used, some of you might not have, but I'll show you how to submit those items through that software. So the first thing that you want to do is open the lab itself. So I'm going to click on the link, and that's going to open me a new window. But however, what I want to do here is, if this happens, you can do one of 2 things. You can click on the blue text at the top, and you can also click this square, which means open in a new window. So by doing that, it's going to open in a new window. Here's my forces lab. But what I need to do is make sure that I enable my Flash player. So if I need to click on that, I'm going to allow it to run. So now what I can see is I have forces, loads, materials, and shapes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I will go through those. So this is all ready to go. Next, what I want to do is I'm going to go back to Schoology, and I want to open up the actual assignment that I'm going to be working on. Okay, I didn't open yet the glossary. You can always go back and do that the same way that you opened the lab. But as of now, I don't need it, so I'm not going to open a tab that I don't need. Building Big Laboratory is the assignment. When I click on that, it's going to open up, and it's going to give me the explanation that I am giving you now. And at the bottom is the most important part of it. Okay, on the right hand of your screen, it's going to say Open Assignment with Cami, K-A-M-I. That is what we want to do. So when we click on that, it's going to open us an additional window. You may need to go through and allow Cami to go to your drive and allow it to access your information. That is all okay. If you have not used it before, that's what you need to do. You can activate what is called OCR. It will read you the text if you want. You can click Run OCR. It doesn't necessarily have to happen, but if you want to use that, you can. That way it can read you the answers. Not the answers, it will read you the questions. That way, if you're confused, it can help you with that. So mine's just finishing doing that. And what I'm going to be doing is, this is the document that you're going to fill in. Okay, so you can see, just like I have on the lab itself, go back to that screen, there are 4 different sections. If I go into the application where you're going to fill it out, there is the forces, the loads, materials, and shapes. There is 4 questions with the exception of materials, where you're going to fill in about the materials. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to focus on the first section. This is the forces lab. And one thing that I like to do is I like to read the questions before I go through. That way I know exactly what I'm looking for when I'm reading and researching in the information. So what I want to do is name the bridge that collapsed due to torsion. What is sliding, also referred to as what type of force acts on bridge cables. Experiment with different types of forces and describe one. So that's an open-ended question where you get to pick one of the 4 forces, or 5 forces rather, and you can explain one of them. So what I can do from this point, I'm in the Forces tab. I can click on each one, and this is called compression. Now up here at the top, you have a slider. It says drag to the slider to see it in action. If I drag it, it's going to show me the arrows are pushing together. That is called compression. Compression is a force that squeezes a material together. When a material is in compression, it tends to become shorter. It is compacting it together. So if I see it in real life, it is showing me columns of a building, of a skyscraper. You can picture Martin Tower if you wish. And all of those columns were holding up the weight of the entire tower above it, and they were under compression. If that's one of my answers, I can find my information. I can go back and I can fill it in under Cami. But what I'm looking at is torsion is what I want to find. So I'm going to skip down. You would go through each of these because they're not in any particular order. But torsion is twisting. So what I would do is see it in real life. And then it says, in 1940, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, there's my answer, twisted violently in strong winds and collapsed. The twisting force that tore this bridge in half is called torsion. So there's my answer, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. So I'm giving you number one. You better get that one right. So what I want to do is, there's my answer. I'm going to come over here. I need a text box, which you can click on the left. I'm going to choose maybe 12-point font, and I'm just going to click right where I want to type it. And I'm going to say the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. I would be done. That's my answer for number one. As I go through, I can add another text box here if I needed to. Anywhere that I need to put an answer, I'm simply going to add a text box. That's the only tool that you're going to use from the side. So you're just like writing a answer in class with a pencil on your piece of paper. However, we're going green and we're not printing the paper out. And we are going to click and add a text box and add all of our answers digitally. So once I go over here, I'm going to be able to type here, materials, same thing. Let's say wood is first. I can type wood, pros, cons, example. For each of these, you do not have to list everything verbatim, exactly what it says. You do not have to fill up the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words is okay. You don't have to give me every single example. Same thing at the bottom, text box, and type your answer. When you are finished, we're going to keep it pretty simple. You should add your name at the top, even though it's going to say your name up at the top when it names your Cami assignment. It's still a good idea to always put your name on things. There are multiple ways to turn it in with Cami, but we're going to keep it simple. And when you are finished, you're simply going to go up to the top right and select Turn In. And this is what it's going to be called. There's my name. That's what it is. And then I'm going to click Turn In. Now, it's not going to let me allow me to turn it in because I'm the instructor of the course. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. And it did not. So it says we're unable to do that. But that would be all that you would do. You would click Submit, and you would be back to square one. So opening the assignment with Cami is what you wanted to do. Going through the forces, each of them on the side, as well as the loads. You have all of these options on the left. And again, do not forget to click the button at the bottom that says try it or see it in real life or explore more. There's a lot of different additional clicks that you can put on here to see more information about each of the things that we are trying to learn. All right, so make sure you are clicking on everything that you can, pushing it. You're going to see a lot of that. Strengthening a rectangle by adding a cross brace or a diagonal brace. That's another thing that you're going to learn. So make sure that you have all the information filled out. You opened the assignment with Cami and you submitted it. And just make sure that you're doing your best to keep spelling correct. Spelling will not count towards your grade, but we do expect it to be correct because you're copying it from the online lab down to your paper. Any questions, you can refer to the glossary that I did show you, and you can find any terms there. But you can also shoot us a question, and you can let us know that when you're done, you can submit it and let us know if you have any other further questions.